And we know for certain on this very wonderful feast day of Our Lady of Lourdes that the tenderness and the mercy and the love and the living flesh of our Blessed Mother will be here with each one of us in a very special way tonight too, because we know, as the founders of the Mary Queen had said once, she said, and Mary is here amongst us because times are hard. And when times are hard, whether it was at Knock, or at Lourdes, or in Guadalupe, or in Medjugorje, or in Fatima, when times are hard, the Mother of God descends upon us once again. And she makes such an incredible, awesome difference. I saw last night on EWTN a show about Mary appearing in India. Maybe some of you might have seen it. It was so precious. It was from like the 1500s, way long time ago in India. There was a little boy. He was very, very poor, but his job was to milk the cows and then to take the milk in a little pail and to distribute them to his little list. So it was very, very hot, and he brought his little pail and sat under the tree. And then a beautiful young woman, he saw this very, very beautiful young woman with a beautiful little baby in her arm. And he said to her, the woman, she said to the little boy, she said, my little son is so thirsty. She said, do you think that you could give him some of your milk? And he just sprang to his feet, and he brought his little container over to the little child, and he drank the milk. And the boy was quite mesmerized at the beauty of the Jesus and Mary. And then he went back and sat under the tree for a minute, and then he went to get up and take the container, and he noticed that the container was completely gone. And he was like, oh my gosh, that little boy drank all this milk. Now what am I going to tell my boss? So he brought the container to his boss, and of course his boss was just livid. It didn't believe the story at all. So you gave that milk to someone else. And he said, no, I didn't. He said, I gave it to the little boy. And then, but when he gave it to the man, the milk started to just bubble up and bubble over. And so it was a miraculous place where she had appeared. So they built a chapel in her honor in the 1500s. And millions of people go there every year. And they were given the testimonies, and they said, it doesn't matter whether we're Muslim or Hindu or whatever we are, we come. And one man, he was a Muslim, and he was saying, I had really bad cancer, and I came. And he said, and the Holy Mother healed me. And there was so many testimonies, and they had an unbelievable museum where they had all these artifacts. With a person was healed of a heart condition. In their poverty, they would find enough means to go and have a gold heart molded and bring the heart to the shrine where it's now in a museum. It was loaded with all these miraculous healings that had occurred, and they call this place the Lourdes of India. I think like millions of people descend upon this place. And Our Lady, Mary Queen, it's just so wonderful to see in reality what she does invisibly. You saw it with these people. They felt better. They were strengthened. And millions of people, as with Lourdes, millions of people and there's a silence that just permeates the whole atmosphere. There's quiet. There's a silence. There's expectation and anticipation that is never outdone. People are never outdone. Pilgrims, millions of people go to Lourdes every single year. It's one of the top visited shrines. Anyway, I think 7 million people go to Lourdes every year. And we had gone, and I had gone myself on different occasions. The first occasion was so many years ago. I went with my husband Eamon because he had a great devotion to Our Lady of Lourdes when we had just gotten married, because he He was born in Ireland. He was a great athlete. He used to play on the traveling team. But he was an athlete in a, kind of how athletes are globally. They're kind of in the fast lane and they're in their own lane. They live their life the way the athletes live their lives. So he led a very active life as an athlete. And then his brother got ordained in Rome in 1959, and he was at the ordination, and then they decided the whole family would go to Lourdes to celebrate his Mass and everything. So they all went to Lourdes, and my husband, Eamon, received such a dramatic conversion experience. He just was totally changed from Lourdes. He just gave up he thought he might become a priest. We had a different road to travel. But anyway, he didn't go out anymore, but he just had this really, really deep conversion experience. So then many years later, he brought me to Lourdes. I think it might have been in, I don't even know, 1970. But my first impression of Lourdes, the shrine of Lourdes, Mary appeared there to this little girl in 1854. And in 1850, the church proclaimed that Mary, they believed that Mary was, in fact, immaculately conceived. That because she was going to be the tabernacle of God, that she had to be immaculate. That if God was going to come and be born in her, that she would have to be immaculate to receive him. But anyway, the church proclaimed her the Immaculate Conception in 1850. 4 years later, in 1854, little Bernadette Subaru, who was very, very poor and very, very sick. Their family was very, very poor, and it was a very ice-cold February 11th when her mother had asked her to go get some wood at the kind of really it was like the city dump. And as if it was the city dump. But anyway, so her and her sister and a cousin went to get firewood to heat their unheatable little dungeon that they were living in. They were living in a place that was a hovel. It was a former prison, but it was abandoned by prisoners because it wasn't livable. It wasn't, no one was able to live there. But her father lost his job as a baker and found no work, and they were so broke and so poor and so hungry and so humiliated that they lived in this little hovel when the mother asked them to go and get some wood. They were going to get the wood, and her sister ran across the little stream. Her sister and the cousin ran across the stream, which is now the big river, the Gave River. Mm-hmm. But at any rate, they said to Bernadette, "Don't you go, you're sick, you have asthma, you can't walk in the water." And she walked in the water, and as soon as she touched the ground from the water, she looked up and she saw this beautiful lady. And she was so stunned and struck and mesmerized, and she just fell to her knees and automatically started to say the rosary. The lady made the sign of the cross, and then Bernadette started to say the rosary. And the lady smiled at her, welcomed her, and asked her if she would be so kind to come back and see her on other different occasions. And so Bernadette, that was the first apparition. Bernadette was totally transflamed. She was transformed. She was energized, and she was strong, and she didn't feel the cold or she went through the water, and she was. They were saying, "What happened to Bernadette? She's not even cold." But anyway, they went back home, and she had told her sister. Her sister said, "Bernadette, why were you looking up like that?" And Bernadette said, "Can I tell you a secret?" And she said, "Yeah." And then she said, "Didn't you see the beautiful lady?" And her sister said, "No, we didn't see any lady." And then as soon as they got home, the sister told the mother that Bernadette had seen this beautiful lady, which started a terrible, terrible process of incredible persecution, disbelief, and and really incredibly hardships for Bernadette and her family. Like, no one believed her, but the lady had said, come back again tomorrow and I will give you some more instruction. So she went back the next day, and because it was authentic and because it truly was the Mother of God, like, people in those days, there was no cell phone, there was no internet, there was no phone, and they didn't have a means except word of mouth, but the people came, they flocked with Bernadette to come to see this lady. And so then she told Bernadette that she had come to ask the world for penance, as was a theme in her all her apparitions. Mary's apparitions are always like, she comes to say kind of, you're my children, all of you, and I know you could do better. I know you could help me. You and I have a mission to save souls, because a lot of people are falling into hell. Now I know that I got helpers in you, so I need your help. That was her message of Lourdes, really. Just come, I want all of you to come and help me to save souls. Penance, penance, penance. But at any rate, it was a long series of, I think there were 16 apparitions. And then on one occasion, Our Lady said that she told Bernadette, no, she didn't tell her, anyway, she told Bernadette to dig in the ground. And there's hundreds of people, and Bernadette's digging in this mud. And she said, you know, now the spring will come, the spring will come. You know, drink the water from the spring. She was asking Bernadette to drink the water from the spring, and there was like no spring. So Bernadette was kind of eating the mud, a little moist mud and little green grass. And then the whole crowd started laughing uncontrollably, and then they said, oh, see, we knew she was a fraud. We knew that she wasn't, you know, that she was just making up this whole, you know, story. And her parents were totally mortified, and they dragged her home. And in the meantime, she had gone to the police station where they threatened to burn her to death, where they threatened to imprison her father for life, and she was as calm and peaceful as a dove and would never relent and never give in. She, no, the lady came. I saw the beautiful lady. But at any rate, when Mary asked her on this one occasion, I think it might have been near the very last apparition, she said, drink from the stream. And Bernadette's mouth was all filled with mud and grass, and the crowd, you know, laughed, and then they all immersed, they left her. And then she was totally mortified. And then, but Our Lady, you know, had said prior to that, she goes, penance, penance, penance. Then she says, drink from the stream. So everybody left. And then the whole town was like, oh, she was such a fraud, and we believed her. And then there was a woman who had a child who was paralyzed. And there was absolutely no hope for him. And in fact, I think he was dying. The doctor was there and said, I'm sorry, but there's no hope for your child. On top of his paralysis, he's now in a coma, and you know he can't live. So he, you know, was in a coma. He was not movable. And the mother panicked, and she grabbed her child. And then the priest came and was giving the child the last sacraments, and the mother just put her black shawl over the baby or the child, and she grabbed her, and she ran to the grotto where the spring had suddenly begun to spring, and suddenly water was coming out. Water in abundance was coming out. And then the mom just put the child in this new spring of water, and suddenly the child started crying and was totally, completely healed. And that was one of the very first miracles that occurred at Lourdes. And then there was another man. He had a great devotion to Mary, and he was a stonemason, and he was doing some work for the church, and a stone hit his eye, and he became, he lost sight in that eye. He was blinded, and he was so mad at the Blessed Virgin. He said, when when everyone was laughing and turning away from Bernadette, he said, "Oh, that's what the Blessed Mother does for you. You just listen to her, and she will do that to you, just like she did to me. I was working on her statue, and the stone hit my eye, and I've been blind ever since." Well, himself, he was the second one. He was the second one to go to the spring, and he was kind of a man. He put the water in his eyes, and then he was like, "Oh, I could see. And then he ran, and nobody was going to shut this guy up. Nobody was going to say it's not true. He ran into the doctor's office and made sure that he didn't care if someone was in the doctor's office. He said, he just opened the door. He said, "Doctor, I could see. And the doctor said, "Just a minute, And then he said, "Sit down." And then he put the reading paper on the chart on the wall. And then he said, "What's this?" He goes, "I don't know." He goes, "What's that?" "I don't know." He says, "Well, you can't even see." He says, you're not healed." He says, "I don't know how to read." He says, "I can't read, but I could see." So then he was the second wonderful miracle that happened at Lourdes. And then from that time, though, people started to flock there. They came in great, great numbers. And her healing love, her healing hands were always present. And millions of people throughout all these years, since 1854. We were there for the 150th anniversary several years ago. And people in our group, we had miracles in our group. Kathy Hiddle, well, I forget now what was wrong with Kathy Hiddle, but something miraculous happened to Kathy Hiddle.
Rosemarie?
Rosemarie, she's not here, but she was critically ill. Rosemarie was really, truly near death's door. So much so, she said to me, "Barb," she looked like she already died. She was her face was almost green, and she couldn't walk, and she couldn't move. And she was so critically ill, though, and she goes, "Barb, I promise I won't die." I said, "Rosemary, it won't help." It was so humorous, though, as if she had control not to die. But at any rate, but we prayed for Rosemary. She came on the trip. Logically, you would say she had a very serious bladder surgery, or kidney surgery. She was in bad shape when she went, and she shouldn't have gone. Naturally, humanly, you'd say, well, she shouldn't have gone because it was a very hard trip. But anyway, then one night, after all our praying, singing, rosaries, they came to my room and they said, "Hurry up, Rosemary's really, really bad. Please come." So I went to her room, and she was half in the bed. She was in the bed, but half of her leg was out of the bed. She was half in and half out of the bed. And in so much pain that she couldn't move. So we were besieging the Lord, and Mary Queen, "Please heal Rosemary, please, Lord, please." And we prayed the leaflet prayer. And then I just said, "Lord, you know what? We prayed the rosaries. We did the masses. We did the adoration. We did everything. We did everything that you do to go on a pilgrimage, and you do. We did it all. And now, Lord, you are our only refuge. You alone right now are the only one that could heal her." And she was still groaning and moaning, and I was like, oh. I said, "Patricia, call the ambulance," because she speaks French. And so she was calling the ambulance when suddenly Rosemary's pain and condition left her dramatically. And she got completely and totally healed. But we saw so many wonderful miracles, but mostly, remember Sharon in the bath. Remember Sharon when you in the bath? Sharon cried for so long. It's just Our Lady's, her unbelievable. The depths of her insights into our needs are so maternal and so vast. But anyway, so from that time though, Lourdes has become like a sanctuary for the sick and the disabled and the needy and the poor. And we brought a pilgrimage, show this wonderful part. We brought our big banner of Miraculous Queen the last time. Oh, I don't know which time it was. One of the times we were there. But we brought our big banner, and like everybody was just, you know, touching the banner. And then my grandson, Ryan James O'Malley, was one of the carriers. and Florrie's nephew. But we carried our banner of Mary Queen. We were so happy, you know. And then when we brought her up to the sanctuary, and I remember there was this girl, a young girl from France, young athletic girl. We were taking photos, and she came and she goes, "Can I be in your picture? You know, can I be in the photo?" And we go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, France, France, France." Mary Queen appeared in France. Mary Queen appeared in France, and the Holy Spirit just came upon this beautiful young athletic girl, and she was like, "She's ours. She belongs to us." But at any rate, so we have our wonderful mother. In fact, I'm so happy to see you because what is your name again?
Sue.
Sue was a very, very close friend of Patsy Scalzetti. And we're so happy to see you, but sad that Patsy can't be with you. I saw on the Rosary on Mother Angelica, I think it's a Joyful Mysteries, for the Visitation, there is a meeting of two women. And one looks exactly like Patsy, and the other one looks like Mare. And it's like their meeting. It was precious. Aww. But at any rate, so we have a mother with a mother's heart. And nothing is impossible with our mother. Nothing! And even when things like, you know, as we all know, sometimes, in fact, I was praying really hard for my grandchild. I was praying at Adoration. I was praying that I see these kids going to Adoration, these young grammar school kids. And I said, "Lord, you know, I wish I could see one of my grandchildren, you know, at Adoration." You know, well then anyway, there was a series of events. It looks like my granddaughter Trinity, mind you. Good guys say no. At any rate, it looks like Trinity will be going to St. Mary's. But I was telling little Trinity, I said, you know, I was praying, you know, and I asked the Lord, "Please, Lord, let one of my grandkids come here and, you know, pray before the Blessed Sacrament." She goes, "You really did?" I said, "Yeah, about 50 other prayers too." But at any rate, of course, how kids are. And as little as I remember about my own childhood, strange how you remember strange things, you know, but I remember I was 6 years old. And my mother worked at a factory in those years for the women worked, and they prepared the bullets and the stuff for the war. And all the women worked at these factories. But anyway, my mother was in the midst, but I was under I was under the dining room table because I couldn't sleep because I had to tell my mother that I was not going to go to Holy Ghost Catholic school. But now here comes my granddaughter Trinity. "I don't want to go to the Catholic school." That's kind of common, you know. But at any rate, Trinity didn't want to go to Catholic school. And we were praying, said, "Mary Queen, please, no, please." And then she cried her way through the whole tour. And then she got home, and half an hour later, and this is what prayer does, 1/2 hour later, she suddenly changed. And she was like, "Yes, I want to go to St. Mary's." And then she called her girlfriend, and it was just a total transformation. So when my daughter called the school the next day, because there's a waiting list. She's the only one on it. There's only one person on it. But at any rate. But anyway, the principal said to my daughter, he goes, "Well, my gosh," he says, "I didn't think your daughter wanted to come here." And Mary's in, there's a big list line of people. She goes, it was a miracle! It was a miracle.
Yeah.
And isn't that the greatest miracle, that God could change our mind when we are so set in our way that we just think, you know, no, this is what I want, and this is because I want it because of A, B, C, D, E, and God, in a moment, in a flash, He changes it, and we're okay, and we want what He wants, and then He performs it, and we think we did it. We think, oh, I did it, I changed my mind, now I'm going to be going. But at any rate, we just praise God today for all the favors and blessings and graces and love through the hands of our Blessed Mother, who are, her miracles are endless and countless. There are no, there's just too many. But I would like to ask anybody that would have a really, really very deeply personal and meaningful, could think of a meaningful moment in which Mary came and you felt her presence and you knew that she answered your prayer. Well, I could think of Marilyn and Bill. When Marilyn and Bill was going to, I'm just going to, say it my way, probably all wrong, but just accept it. I like it. But he was going, poor Bill, he doesn't know what is going on. But anyway, he was going to his storage room, which was a big, it was packed with all his stuff. And Marilyn just said to him spontaneously, and really through the power of the Holy Spirit, she goes, oh, Bill, bring your cell phone. And he was like, really. But anyway, he ended up falling down. How many floors, Marilyn?
3 stories.
3 stories.
3. Is that what you would call it, stories?
Next year it'll be 4.
Next year it'll be 4. Oh, well, that just goes right in with the Lord's water.
That's not prophecy.
All right, it wasn't a story, it was a floor. The 3rd floor of the storage unit.
Yeah.
The 3rd floor of the storage unit, which is still pretty high.
Oh, wow.
And it was a cement bottom. Anyway, he fell. And he fell from this 3rd floor into a dresser. Right, Bill?
An armoire drawer.
An armoire, a drawer. The drawer was open.
Yeah,
And he fell right into, but it was very critical, very, very critical. But, like here, and then he called her. He had his cell phone to call. And he said, Marilyn, I fell. And he's always, he's always joking. He's great. She goes, oh, and he goes, no, I really need help. Call the ambulance. But he was saved, really saved, because you could think of a lot of incidences that happen much less than that, and there's a terrible death or a severe and lasting injury. And through time, the Lord really touched Bill and healed him way beyond what he could have ever at that moment hoped for. And that was a time through the intervention of Mary Immaculate Queen. And Bill has received wonderful favors. And I think it's so great, because he's macho and he's a guy and everything, and he knows, he got this great, he's got several wonderful healings. But he said one time, and it just touched me deeply, he said, I remember when I made my first communion. And he says, and I met Mary. And from that time, Mary has always been with him, which is a total wonderful gift from God that is irreplaceable. But anything else? Dominic, I know that Dominic had wonderful touches and graces. When his dad was dying, he really received that incredible peace that surpasses all understanding. And Florrie received her miraculous healings, and also her nephew with alcoholism. And but there's just so many wonderful, countless times that Mary comes to our rescue. We can't even sometimes identify it or put it into words, but we know that she came, and we know that she will come, and we know that things will be different because because times are hard, and she cares. And all we have to do is say, I want it, Lord. Tonight I want to be healed of my addiction. Tonight I want to be healed of my alcoholism. Tonight I want to be healed of my anxieties. Tonight I want to really make a change, Lord. And I want to place my whole life in your hands. I want you, Lord, to be the focus of my days and my nights. I want to respond to your mother's request at Lourdes when she said penance. So she said penance, penance. So that was penance when Bernadette obeyed her and drank the mud and was made a fool out of. That was penance. When we don't like what happens to us, but we say, okay, Jesus, I offer this up. I offer this terrible contradiction that I can't even see could make any sense or do any good. Like Brenda could have said that. Why did it have to happen like this? She didn't ask. She just accepted it. And from that, healing sprung up and conversions and transformations of lives. So when things happen in our life that we don't understand and we think we could do far better without, that's the penance, because sometimes we can't do penance. I could never have bread and water. Some people can, and it's nothing to them. Some people can't. But at any rate, when things go wrong in our life, when, there's a million things that could go wrong, and it's at that time like, I offer this up as a penance, Lord. Please help somebody. Please convert my family. Please touch someone that might be dying. But that is valuable before the throne of God, because, Scripture says we have to fill up. We have to fill up. Strange as it is, what's lacking in the Passion of Christ. We got to help the Lord. And especially today with all the terrible, heinous, unheard of before catastrophes in our world that, human trafficking. I mean, who could comprehend it? Who could understand it? Who could even imagine what it truly is like? But that's when she says, then we offer it up, say, Lord, I don't understand this contradiction that happened to me, but I offer it so one child, well, not one 7-year-old won't be turned into a prostitute. And we all have that power to help the Blessed Virgin. And she's our mother, and she's counting on each one of us to really be beside her so that when that wonderful day comes and we meet her and we see her in all her beauty and her love, and then we understand and see all that she had done for every single one of us. Père Lamy, this French priest, he saw her, he had visions of her, and she told him, oh, you don't have a clue to how many times I saved your very life. He said, you almost fell off that pear tree 3 times and you could have died. For all of us, we don't know, but when we meet her and she'll say, oh, remember that? It was my arms that caught you. It was my voice that spoke to your heart. It was my inspiration that changed. So everybody love Mary more. Let's all ask the Lord that we might love her more and just be her true and worthy children. So we praise God.